Well, hello guys, and what's up, and welcome back. And today we're looking at the biggest movie of the year, let's be honest here. The Avengers Infinity War. Biggest movie, 10 years in the making, this is the 19th Marvel movie. 10 years. There's a lot going into this. The hype is infinite. And yeah, I was excited just like everyone else. Well, okay, I haven't been able to get hyped for something in years, but you know what I mean. And yeah, we will be doing spoilers, but I'm gonna, for the first few minutes, and every spoiler free, I'll just be talking about it vague. We'll get into it because I kind of have to. I feel like I do anyways. And I'll do some big flashy warning or something. It'll be obvious. There'll be a noise. I'll figure it out in post. But the Avengers Infinity War. 10, right? A lot of stuff going into it. And yeah, it lives up to it. It's a great movie. It has a lot going in. It has a lot to do. And it does live up to it. It shows what goes into these cinematic universes. Leading up to this, I had watched almost every Marvel movie. I was originally going to do them videos on this channel, but that didn't happen. Maybe next year. But there's a lot of movies, and rewatching them all, most of them are pretty good. And even the ones that are bad, Thor, Iron Man 2, they aren't that bad. Like, I've seen far worse movies. We've covered far worse movies since I restarted this channel. Well, one. Yeah, that's just, Marvel has this sense of quality. And I know some people throughout the years have gotten sick of superhero movies. There's the Marvel method. I know in comics the Marvel method means something different. But in the movies, it's that standard formula, right? You got the jokes, you've got the cast of characters. The villain is usually just an evil version of the hero, right? And this one both is doing it and not doing it. Because there are a lot of characters to balance in this movie. There really are. I think it's upwards of 20. That's a lot to handle. And for the most part, it does a good job at it. It is able to find a balance, showing up all of these different characters. They splinter them off into groups, which I think is the right way to do it. Because you have a lot to take care of. And the Russo brothers, they're taking up a huge challenge here, trying to manage all of this. And I give them credit for pulling it off, really. So many characters, so much to do. This could so easily go wrong. And as we've seen with people like Joss Whedon, it does burn you out. There's a lot to handle here. And I think it's because there's two of them. Joe and Anthony Russo can do this a lot better, just because there's more to manage, right? And overall, it gives us a solid movie. Is it flawless? No, and we'll get back into this when we get into spoilers. But it's dealing with a lot of characters. And sometimes we'll go into with a certain group, and then we just won't see that group again for like half an hour. This is almost a 3-hour movie, by the way. I know some people don't like longer movies, but this is only longer. It's not. I think it's probably only 2.5 hours, but I didn't really feel the length. I'll give it that. It didn't feel like, oh my god, like this is just going on forever. No, it actually felt really short. I saw it twice. I do want to say that. The reason why this took a little longer to get out is because I went and saw it normal in just standard theater, and then I went and saw it in IMAX. If I didn't despise 3D, God, I'm glad that gimmick is dying. I probably would have saw it a third time. So just the fact that I saw it twice does mean it is good. There is something worth watching there, and we'll talk about IMAX here in a minute. But you're managing a lot of characters, and you don't see you'll get like Iron Man. So there's an Iron Man group, and then there's a Guardians of the Galaxy group. And you'll see like Iron Man's group at the beginning, and then you don't see it again for half an hour. I get why it has to happen. You're managing a lot of characters, and I don't envy them for that. But this is probably something like this. This is probably the best way they could have done it. This is the most balanced you could have gotten it. So I give them credit, and it is solid for that. However, this maybe gets to my main problem, and this is only this is a problem depending on perspective. And that's, this movie doesn't hold on its own. You really do have to have seen a majority of the other Marvel movies. Not all of them, you could have skipped some of them. I mean, there's some that don't matter, but for a majority, there are a bunch I do recommend seeing before this, because there's a lot of character development in those movies that there's almost none here. Almost none of the main characters, almost, we'll get into it in spoilers, don't really have any character developments. You have to know these characters from their previous movies, which is both a good thing and a bad thing about what Marvel's been doing here. It's a good thing because it allows us to, instead of making like a 9-hour movie with all the character development, we've done it in previous movies. So people who've seen them can go into this knowing what's going on. That's a good thing. But that means the movie doesn't hold up on its own. Every other Marvel movie, even like the Iron Man sequels, or even the Avengers sequels, or Captain America sequels, they all hold up on their own. You could take someone who hasn't seen any of the movies and show them like Avengers Age of Ultron, and they'd be fine. They'd basically get it. There'd be some confusion, but for the most part, all of the previous Marvel movies, all 18, hold on their own. This one doesn't. You need to know stuff going in, or you will be lost. I mean, there's always YouTube videos that'll tell you all the crap you need. But it's one of the drawbacks of the movie. I don't really fault it for that. It's just something that, going into this, if for some reason you're not a big fan of the Marvel movies, you've maybe seen one or two, they weren't really your style, and you're thinking maybe this one will change it, and that ain't gonna happen. If anything, this will be worse, just because of how complicated it is. How much is really going on. Because there's a lot. There really is. And yeah, I saw it in both normal theater and IMAX. I'm not really an IMAX person. This is the second ever movie I've seen in IMAX. It's just not my style, really. I mean, it's more expensive. I'm usually the type of guy who gets up early in the morning and goes and sees the movie with all the old people, and I'm usually the youngest in the room by like 30 to 40 years. No, I'm not joking. That is totally true. So yeah, I don't see, and in IMAX it sounded good. The movie score wise is pretty solid. I mean, it doesn't beat Ragnarok. Ragnarok is just, oh god, I love the synth score. I'm biased, admittedly, but Ragnarok has a great synth score, and this one does fine. This one has a fine score. Visually, yeah. So what I had been told, the reason I saw this in IMAX was because someone told me, and I don't know if this is true. I think this is true. I haven't actually looked it up in a long time. I never looked it up. I was just told. This was the first ever movie to be shot in all IMAX or only IMAX or something like that. And that's pretty impressive. So that's why I bought an IMAX ticket. Because that's really cool. And you gotta see something like this. And when they do something like that, it's like the people who, like when Tarantino did Hateful Eight, and he shot it in 8mm. So you kind of, you could go see it digital. It's kind of, you may, just because, yeah, he went through the effort of doing it. And I mean, I think of the Tommy Wiseau's The Room, where he shot it in both film and digital simultaneously. That movie, man. Wonders. But yeah, overall, I didn't really notice much. I mean, the sound was more pronounced, but really, I didn't notice that much of a difference. Maybe it's just me. I'm one of those people who, in like gaming circles, is like the difference between 30 and 60 frames a second, the difference between 720 and 1080. I don't really notice a difference. Graphics aren't the biggest deal for me, so maybe some of that's carrying over and I didn't really notice it here in IMAX. But if you're interested, you may want to. It's not bad, and I mean, yeah, it was good. It's a good movie. I recommend it. I recommend seeing some of the other Marvel movies before. Here's what do I recommend? I would recommend Iron Man, The Avengers, Captain America. Sadly, Thor 2. I don't like Thor 2. I think it's the worst one, but it does set up the Aether, so you might as well. Guardians of the Galaxy 1, Age of Ultron, Doctor Strange, Civil War, and there may be one I'm forgetting in there, but that's basically, those are the movies I recommend watching before you go into this. Oh, Homecoming, just because Homecoming's the best one. Yeah, Homecoming's like the best one. And so now spoilers. Just spoilers. Just if you go see it, it's great. It's definitely worth your time. As long as you're willing to get into it, if you're not sick of the Marvel method, because it kind of follows it, kind of doesn't. It doesn't, just because there's so much going on. But if you don't like other Marvel movies, this one isn't going to change your mind. Looking at you, Cameron. Such a selfish. But spoilers. So I fucking called it. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm both happy that I called it, and it's like, oh shit, they actually did it. So ending spoilers, one last time, final warning, get the fuck out if you haven't seen it. Come back if you have. Yeah, come back if you have, because some of this is important. At the end, so I've talked to a bunch of people about this, and they all figured by the end of this movie, Thanos was going to get 3, maybe 4 stones, right? And the next movie was going to be him getting the next 2, right? That's how it was going to happen. I know some people have been talking about the scrolls or whatever. I don't read comics. I did. Off track for a second, and I probably won't talk about this again. But well, maybe. I actually have read the Infinity Gauntlet, the comic this movie is based on. I like it. I really do like it as a comic. So I kind of knew what. I didn't know entirely what to expect going into it, but I had an idea. So, I mean, there are definitely some changes. Death isn't in here at all, of course, because, I mean, it's kind of fucking goofy. And Adam Warlock isn't here because I'm expecting him in the sequel. But but in the comic, he goes into the comic already having the Infinity Stones. He already has them all. In the movie, the entire movie is him getting all of the Infinity Stones. And it does end with the snap, which I called it. And nobody I knew thought it was going to happen. I'm so glad it did. It's so good. It's such a great moment. It's a great place to end this movie. And it's half of our main cast dies, maybe a little more. Oh shit. There was not in the first showing, but in the IMAX showing, I swear there was a lady right down the row from me who was actually crying. I don't know. Most Marvel movies, with the exception of Guardians of the Galaxy 2, aren't very heartfelt. But this one, I can see it, because a lot of characters die, and it is cool. It's a great moment. There's a thing always, because it's a 2-parter movie. You have to end it on something big. You have to leave it open. I know they can leave it open for a sequel, but you have to have a climax. And there's a climax fight scene, of course, and we'll get back to it. But the snap is a great big moment to end off the movie. I think that was a great place. It really does raise the stakes, right? It basically kills off a majority of the characters. Basically, only our main Avengers are left. I mean, everyone in Guardians of the Galaxy dies except for Rocket. All of our original Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, and Black Widow, they're all fine. Presumably Hawkeye's fine. They're not in this movie. Hawkeye and Ant-Man, I know they're doing their own movies. As of recording this, the Ant-Man and the Wasp just got a new trailer. It looks fine. I'm interested in it. I think it'll be a good movie. But that's later. And then, but I'm assuming Hawkeye's kids are going to disappear. Either that or his wife, and that's going to give him the motivation to come back. Ant-Man, probably something like that as well. Like, that's how I'm expecting Ant-Man and the Wasp to end, or that's the end credit scene, or something along those lines. I hope they're both in it, not just Ant-Man. I do hope. And yeah, we're getting back the main Avengers. It's an interesting way to put it. I mean, the one that breaks through your heart though. So Tony Stark, it's him, the Guardians, Strange, Spider-Man, and Nebula. And everyone disappears except for Nebula. And Spider-Man's the heartbreaking one. That's the one where I get it. That's the emotional one. Because he says, I don't want to go. I don't want to die. Well, he doesn't say I don't want to die, but you know what I mean. You get the sentimentality. And it is heartbreaking. Because, I mean, Stark is basically a father figure to him. So I get it. I get it. And Doctor Strange talking about this whole endgame thing. But it's heartbreaking. But what makes it stronger, so I went back and I watched Age of Ultron after seeing it the first time. And there's a great line. So if you saw Age of Ultron, at the beginning of the movie, he sees the vision of all of his friends die. And it's his fault. And I mean, kind of. There's still that argument to be made that Tony Stark is the biggest villain of the MCU. That's a story for another day, though. But everyone dies except for him. He's left alone with Nebula. But later on in Age of Ultron, he says, "Oh, I saw all my friends die, and that wasn't even the worst part." And Fury says, "No, the worst part was that you didn't die with them." Oh, it just made re-watching that movie again and hearing that line. I forgot about that line. So seeing it again, it just made the ending even stronger. This is the interconnected of the MCU. They're thinking 10 steps ahead. Something like this, it just makes the scene even better. I forgot that line was there. Oh, shit. It just makes the movie better. It also makes me like Age of Ultron more. I feel like that movie gets way too much shit. I think I like it more than the original Avengers. Maybe not more than this one, but maybe more than the original Avengers. I'll get back to you on that one day. But yeah, everyone disappears, and Thanos walks away winning, basically. But, he retires to be a farmer. It's not over yet. It clearly isn't, because the problem with the ending, so all these characters have died, oh shit, they're all gonna come back. The only character who I think isn't dead, or who I think is probably permanently dead, is Loki. Other than that, I think everyone can come back. I don't think, it's not plot armor, but I mean, if it's like the comics, they'll just undo it. That's where I've seen it. Loki for a second. So I remember hearing before the movie came out that, like, in the first 15 minutes of this movie, Thanos is going to do something, like, amazing, right? He's going to do something that's like, oh, shit. And the death of Loki and Heimdall, which, Idris Elba was so good, it sucks. I hope he's not dead. I can also see him being dead and not coming back. I hope it's not true, because Idris Elba was so great. He's so great. Assuming we're getting the Thor 4. But Loki's death is that oh shit moment. I heard other people talk about it. I didn't see it coming, but, well, I mean, kind of. Again, I heard people talk about it. And yeah, it's a good way to open the movie, because I like how, yeah, it's not, because Loki doesn't betray Thor. We've come full circle. Our characters have grown, and starting off where we left off from Ragnarok is a great place to open this movie. It really is. But yeah, Loki and Heimdall are probably the only characters who I think are permanently dead. Other than that, everyone has a chance for redemption. Everyone who dissipates at the end is 100% coming back. There's not a chance in hell they aren't. They're totally going to do it. Especially because we know there's a new Spider-Man Homecoming. We know there's a Black Panther 2. Probably. I think so. So, yeah, they're all going to come back. That's how this shit works. It's comic book movies. Comic book movies, characters die and come back all the freaking time. Well, in the comics. So, a movie, I don't see any difference. Plus, Marvel also has a really bad track record of permanently killing off characters. Let's just forget Coulson, because he's technically canon dead in the movies, but in the shows he's fine. They didn't kill off Nick Fury. He just faked his death. The only ones I can think of is, well, besides for the villains, I'm not counting villains, is Yondu, Quicksilver, and that's it. Marvel doesn't permanently kill off their characters. That's just part of the Marvel movie. They're willing to kill off their villains. Again, most of their villains are shit, and we'll get to Thanos. Most of the time it's just, oh, look at Ant-Man. It's an evil version of Ant-Man. Fucking ProZD. Ah, God. But yeah, that's the thing. Marvel doesn't do death. And out of all those deaths, Quicksilver's, I still think it's up despite... Yondu's is tragic. Yondu's death still gets me. I get that one. That one's... Yeah. There must be more. I must just be forgetting someone. But... they're all going to come back. We all know it. That's going to be the next one. They're probably not going to do the scroll anytime soon, just based on how this movie ended. I know some people were looking forward to it. Again, I've never read the comics. Maybe it's interesting in the comics. Who knows? Let's talk about Thanos. Thanos is one of Marvel's best villains. Ever since Phase 3, Marvel has been getting better with villains. I mean, well, technically David Cross was Phase 2, Yellow Jacket, which he's my prime example of a bad Marvel villain. The Marvel method at work makes him. But in Phase, and I mean there are some bad ones in Phase 3. Stranger's villain, Mads Mikkelsen, I don't remember the guy's name, and Dormammu. He's just a evil, strange. Dormammu's a cosmic entity. I mean, it's a cool scene, but he's a nothing villain. But then you have Zemo. Zemo, I feel like he doesn't get enough credit. He's one of the greatest, especially because he wins. That's a very important thing. He wins. Plus, he's a man fighting gods and he wins. Vulture in Homecoming is still my favorite. He's great. There's the saying I really like in storytelling. There's nothing wrong with making an honest living selling illegal drugs. And he exemplifies that, and I think he does a great job at it. And now we have Thanos. Thanos is a character... Okay, so after Justice League, we had Steppenwolf. Steppenwolf was shit, right? He had no character. He was just a giant CGI villain. Nobody gave a shit about him. So going into this movie, we were all kind of worried that Thanos was going to be that. But no, he's an actual character. He has depth. He has motivation. You see where he's coming from. Much like, I didn't mention Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther. My second favorite, well, honestly, Thanos is probably third. Thanos just, you empathize with him. You see where he's coming from. You understand. And that's what makes him a better villain. He's not just an evil hero. He's actually got complexity. He's got depth. And that's what makes him better than a generic CGI Steppenwolf. Because who gives a shit about Steppenwolf? I read DC Comics every once in a while. I don't give a shit about Steppenwolf in the comics. What makes this any... who cares? But Thanos is a big bad guy. And the interesting thing is, even in the comics, Thanos goes from villain to anti-hero. In this, he sees himself as a hero. Because his goal is to just exterminate half the universe. Because he believes that, given life too much, if it grows too much, the universe only has finite resources. It will destroy itself. All life will die out. And the only solution is to kill half the universe. Resetting population, everything will go fine, and I guess occasionally doing it. Selecting at random. I get it. You get where he's coming from. He explains his backstory. Gamora does great in this, because she plays off of him. She allows him to explain himself, taking a character we're familiar with and a character we know nothing about, and allowing them to meet, allowing them to talk. It does great. Which I complain about character development. Most of this, almost no character has character development. The exceptions are Star-Lord, arguably, Gamora, and Thanos. Those are the three characters that really do grow. A lot of the characters, they're just there. They're just playing their roles. They're being the heroes we know. All their character development happened in previous movies. These are the three. I mean, you could argue Iron Man as well. I would, I guess. Even Strange. But for the most part, I mean, these are the characters. And Thanos really does, he has his goal. He has what he believes in. And he does think of Gamora as his daughter, even though she doesn't. There's a lot of good scenes with them, including getting the Soul Stone, which I like Red Skull. I always wondered about him, because you see him get teleported away in the first Avenger, and it's like, he's not technically dead. So seeing him show back up here, that was cool. And then Thanos shedding a tear for Gamora as he kills her to get the Soul Stone. Oh, shit. I'm assuming that's going to come back in, the part 2, because Gamora's trapped inside the Soul Stone. Because we really know nothing about the Soul Stone in this movie, so I'm assuming part 2 is going to expand on it. Maybe Warlock will finally show up and take it. I can see that happening. But Gamora's soul is trapped inside the Soul Stone. That's what I put my... Because after he does the snap, he sees Gamora and an orange place. That's the Soul Stone. She's still alive. She can come back, definitely. Especially because there's also a Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So, yeah, no, they're going to come back. Unless they do Guardians of the Galaxy 3 with the original Guardians, you know, the ones we saw at the end of 2. Wouldn't that be interesting? I mean, I'm not entirely against it, weirdly enough, but that'd be interesting. But Thanos, I get it. He makes sense. He's a great villain. You understand. He wins, but, yeah, I mean, yeah. And like I said, what makes Zemo great is he wins. What makes Thanos great is he wins. It's always interesting to see a villain win because it completely flips the dynamic on its head. And that's really good in this movie. That's what this movie does well. But then there's Thanos' underlings. 3 of them I don't give a shit about. One of them is just a poor man's Hulk. One of them I don't know. And then there's the girl who, no. There's your generic CGI Steppenwolf villains. The one though, I don't remember any of their names. They call him Squidward, which there's been these posts going around of just pictures from Infinity War, where it's like, oh, here's pictures from Infinity War. Spoilers, no context. That's kind of funny. And Squidward, he's the one that actually has like character development. He thinks of Thanos as a god, right? He's basically a religious priest talking about how great Thanos is. He's fine, and I like how they kill him shooting him out the air duct. Yeah, but other than that, I don't like Thanos' underlings. They're generic. They go after the stones and they fail in all accounts, really. Who cares about them at all? And then there's our groups of characters. Let's talk about this. So, Stephen Strange, Stark, and Spider-Man are one group. That's a fine group. I like how they all play off of each other. I like how... Right, because we already know Spider-Man and Stark can play off. And then I've said... I know other people have said this. I said this before. That Strange is basically just Stark. Just different. Just same person, different name. So they conflict a lot. I get that. And this is like Stark's movie. Robert Downey Jr., he does great. God, the casting is so amazing, as always. And because this entire time, I mean, ever since the Avengers, he's been worried about Thanos. He calls Thanos his curse, and I get it. I get how they're building off of that. We have another group is Cap's group, which is basically everyone else on Earth. Captain America, Black Widow, Vision, and Scarlet Witch. I like their relationship developing, and it is interesting because he has the Mind Stone, and of course they're going after the Mind Stone, and how this is much like, okay, so I know I've said this before that Winter Soldier is kind of a Black Widow movie because while they're talking about it, I don't know if it's going to actually happen. I hope it does, and then Age of Ultron is a Hawkeye movie. This is probably the closest we'll get to a Scarlet Witch movie. I think she really does do a lot here Because a big part is that she has the power to destroy the Mind Stone. Her relationship with Vision, it's all good, right? That's interesting. War Machine, Falcon, Black Panther, and his group. I forget all their names. Sorry. Alright, they're a fine group. My problem is those are the ones where I'm like, there's no character development in this movie for them. Nothing happens with them. They're just the characters they are from previous movies. And that's fine. That's honestly fine. I mean, because you're building up from previous movies. It's technically a problem because the movie doesn't stand on its own, but I don't fault it. Again, this is the 19th movie. But yeah, Cap really just does nothing. He's just Captain America. I didn't really feel like he did anything special or interesting. Same thing with Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa. He does nothing. He's barely in it, honestly. But it's fine. They get half the big ending fight, which we'll get back to. Another group is the Guardians: Gamora, Mantis, Drax, and Star-Lord. They're all fine. I mean, they're still really funny. They are the comedic highlights of this movie. Really, they have a lot of good moments. That and Thor, because instead of doing like the first two Thor movies, they're doing Ragnarok Thor. And yeah, the comedic highlights shine through. And yeah, it's good with them. There's this whole arc about how Peter Quill loves Gamora and how he goes to kill her to keep the secret of the Soul Stone from Thanos. And I do like the line from Thanos. I approve of you, kid. Or I'm paraphrasing there, but it's an interesting line. I kind of like that from Thanos. Again, it shows his more complexity. But that's her arc. Is she'd rather die than go back to Thanos. Of course, he gets the Reality Stone, and that's a great scene because you go in knowing he had the Reality Stone, and it's like, oh, because you can tell something's off. He dies way too easily. It's good. The Collector, he really is nothing in this movie, but and then our next, who else? And then our last group is Rocket and Groot and all them, and Thanos, and Peter Dinklage shows up. Hey, he's a dwarf, but the dwarf is bigger than all of them. Okay, that's funny. Fine, I'll get you. He has one of the best lines about, oh, it'll kill you. And it's like, oh, well, and he's like, that's what killing means. Just go watch the movie. It's a funny ass line. But yeah, overall, it's good. Last thing, I guess we'll talk about the ending scenes. So so Thanos has the Infinity Stones. He's overpowered as hell. How do you fight that? Because in the comics, they weaken him, right? He purposefully weakens himself so they can fight him. In the movie, if he closes his hand, that's how he uses the stones. So the fight scene of the four of the Guardians team up with the Avengers, or Iron Man, Stark, Strange, right, to fight. It's fine, but they're having to stop him from closing his hand because he's after the Time Stone. And it's a great scene. It's a great fight sequence because they almost win, and then Peter Quill finds out he killed Gamora, so he freaks out and he ruins the plan, which kind of makes sense. See, he's the one I didn't want to fade away. Like, him and Spider-Man, because I wanted to see him deal with the repercussions of his actions here, because he fucked it up. And I mean, Strange Strange gives him the Soul Stone after their plan fails, and talking about we're in Endgame, because I agree what they're seeming to lean towards is to win, they need Stark to be alive, which, yeah, I agree with, because Thanos stabs Stark, and it looks like he's going to die. But no, he's fine. He walks away again, Age of Ultron. So yeah, that's good. And then on the other side, we see Thanos' three minions fighting for the Mind Stone. And it's an okay fight scene. There's a lot of these generic-ass CGI creatures. You have some good scenes when Scarlet Witch shows up and moves the giant drill things. That's cool. The overall fight scene is cool. Throughout the entire movie, Banner's been dealing with not being able to turn into the Hulk. So we see him in the Hulkbuster armor, and you get a funny line in there. And the entire thing with the Hulk, I mean, it's an interesting take on it. I'll give them that. I'm glad they don't just use the Hulk. They actually have Banner basically throughout the entire movie. But they aren't able, because they're trying to disconnect Vision from the stone. They fail. Wanda uses her power to destroy Vision. And then I do like the line where she's like, "You can never understand," and he's like, "I lost more today than you can ever imagine." God, Thanos is good. He's so good. And then he brings back time, because I know in the comics you can't destroy an Infinity Stone. Even when the incursions happen, they don't destroy. I mean, the Time Stone disappears. And now it's a giant pink rock or something, even though Marvel may be rebooting its universe. Again, don't read comics. Well, not really. I'm trying. And yeah, and then he reverts back time, brings Vision back to life, takes the stone. Oh yeah, Thor has an axe now that allows him to teleport. There's kind of, how did he know to find them there? But he stabs the axe and Thanos is like, "You should have gone for the head." We get the snap. And yeah, it's a great movie. It really is. I definitely recommend it. Our end credit scene, Fury and Hill disappear, and it sets up Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is one of the few Marvel comics I have read, Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel. They're both good, or at least I like them personally. So I'm excited to see where they take with Captain Marvel. That'll be cool. I hope we get a Miss Marvel movie next phase. That would be cool. I like Miss Marvel, because I know they weren't planning Inhumans, even though I don't really care for Inhumans. And the TV show's trashed. But yeah, the movie is great. That I really enjoy it. I see it has a lot to build on. It has a lot building up to it. That's very important. Keep that in mind going into it. But overall, it's really solid. It does a lot of good things. It's trying to balance a lot. And sometimes I wish we got more of certain characters. We saw more of them more frequently. But the Russo brothers probably did the best they could with what they have. And based on the fact that a bunch of people died, the next movie is probably going to have a smaller cast, more manageable, hopefully. And we'll see. We'll see where it goes. I am really interested. It's only about a year away. So I'll be back here hopefully in a year. Hopefully we won't go on hiatus again forever. Actually, speaking of which, I'm making no promises. But I may have another video out about Infinity War. We'll see. It may just be only audio, but we'll see. I may talk about that again and have a co-host. Not in here, obviously. But yeah, that's Infinity War. Go check it out. It's loved it. I mean, it is. I think it just broke the highest box office in the U.S. record. So there's a good chance you may have already seen it. But it's good. It's great. I loved it. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, because I'm assuming if you watched the spoiler part, you've already seen it. And then, maybe, I mean, I saw it twice. I'll probably see it a third time. Maybe go see it again. It's pretty freaking good. Oh, look at me shamelessly whoring out to these movies that I love. Oh, and ranked against all the other Marvel movies, this is probably 2 or 3. Honestly, I still like Spider-Man Homecoming, still my favorite. But this is probably, it's somewhere's up there with Civil War and whatnot. It's really good. Next year I'll watch them all in order and I'll do videos on them. Hopefully. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.